I'm just getting started early.
Yeah, our tree's always the last.
I just maybe, it's been a while since I've used the thing, so I don't know. Just kind of checking it out.
But the other neighbor, he's got a lawn service.
See if I
Unless
can
she's
chase someone.
Oh, yep, yep. Someone comes in.
Yeah, I need to be able to listen in.
So
Where,
there's all
where do you
these
find that?
things.
It's on the agenda.
Okay. Gotcha.
Just here.
Recording. Record audio here too.
Bob didn't decide to go to the basketball game.
Oh, Bob's coming. He left me a message. He said he was coming. And plus we need him for a forum, so.
Keep looking at that clock and that clock is very.
I know, I keep looking up there like I think it's gonna change. Oh, yeah.
Stop the clock. Don't look at that clock.
It's like, yeah, and then I go.
Nail biters.
I think I just heard the elevator. I just heard a ding.
Me too.
So I'm guessing that's the elevator.
I got your packet in here.
Thank you. There he is.
Oh, yeah, you're on this side.
We just assigned you a lot of stuff.
What's
while we
that?
were waiting.
I know my colleagues, they wouldn't do that.
I tried to stop.
You need? I
For
need to
you
do,
to find it.
oh, don't say that.
In other words, I'll give you a chance to breathe.
Oh. Okay.
All right, we'll call this meeting to order. Commissioner Moody, if you would lead us in the pledge.
Justin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The roll, please.
All right, Commissioner Schweitzer,
Present.
Commissioner Meadow,
Here.
Commissioner Mudry,
Present.
Commissioner McConnell was present. Chair Proctor.
Present.
Is that it? I guess that's it. We have a quorum.
Next on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Switzer.
I move we approve the agenda as presented.
Support?
It's been moved and supported by Commissioner Switzer and supported by Commissioner Meadow. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Approval of the minutes for October 14th.
Madam Chair, I move approval of the minutes of October 14th, 2024.
Support.
It's been moved by Commissioners McConnell and Switzer. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. We have no correspondence before us today and no old business before today. We move into our public hearing.
Madam Chair, we have rezoning number PRZ 2024-004 and Brandstock Costa. Rezone 0.95 acre parcel at 6020 West Saginaw Highway. Parcel number 040-088-005-030-00 from O office to C commercial.
Thank you very much. Director, Menzer or Planner Wojak?
Yeah, so tonight Hope is gonna present the case and any questions, and I'll jump in if necessary.
Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon and good evening. Tonight we have a rezoning request for 6020 West Saginaw Highway. It is the parcel that is outlined in red up on the map on the screens. It is almost an acre. It's a very large parcel. The current zoning is office. The requested is commercial. Mr. Costa would like to tear down the old funeral home and then market it as a commercial property. The property has been office since the 70s, and before that, what we could find was that it was commercial. When redevelopment occurs, an SLUP will be required for any drive-through businesses or let's see, I blanked my brain, sorry. Drive-through businesses or something, anything similar to that. When this does get redeveloped, a buffer setback will be required because it is adjoining to residential properties. The buffer will be at least 40 feet on both the rear and the side of the setbacks.
Commissioners? Questions or comments?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
so looking at permitted uses, so one zone commercial, do I understand by right? Bars, plasma centers, drive-through restaurants, shopping centers, gas stations, and motor vehicle service facilities are allowed by right. Correct.
I believe.
Those are by special land use permit. I think you listed some in your staff memo.
Oh, okay.
Yep,
Those are, okay.
yeah,
Yes.
those uses are by special land use permit, so they'll require additional
Additional.
review. If there were a building, so like a shopping center is probably the most straightforward one. If a straight standalone retail center was built, or just a standalone retail store, that would just go through our site plan review process, which does not have, would not come back to the planning commission. But we have an internal process for that. If depending on if it meets one of the standards for site plan, that would come to you. So not all site plans come to planning commission. So one way or the other, it would be seen by, again, in the future, either by staff or by the planning commission. But those uses that were listed are all by special land use permit.
Yes,
Okay, and bars and shopping centers are allowed by right, so those are not. Is that correct? I'm reading the coverage.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chair, I move we open the public hearing.
All right.
Support.
It's been moved by Commissioners McConnell and Switzer. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Comments from the authorizer?
Yeah, just introduce yourself, give me your address, and then share your comments.
My name is David Wills, Sharon Wills, we live at 716 Garfield Avenue. We're just down the street from this property. My concern that we have is, we're not against commercial property or development. We're just concerned for this one here at being at the end of our street, which we're also a dead end street, so. And I gotta change a little bit because of the hearing a little bit here. My concern is with the residents of Garfield and Whitmore Avenue, right there in that corner. That will have to deal with possibly more traffic or noise being a commercial property. And I was gonna say traffic on the street, but it sounds like that may not be there. But where if it was an office building, being next to a residential property, you know, it would actually keep the volume of noise or things down from the residents. Being so close, we have a house just right next to the property. And I just kind of would like to ask you to kind of think of the residents and maybe reevaluate the requests and try to think of the residents that's going to be in this area. And also I'm concerned if a commercial property, you know, will that affect residential value of their own property being so close to, if it is a fast food restaurant or a bar. I'm trying to pick up pieces here. I'm sorry. A little nervous.
It's okay.
You know, how's that gonna affect our value of our property and things like that. So I just like to thank your time for all your time listening to our concerns.
Thank you. Next.
I don't know if you want me to give I'm Todd Costas, I'm the one of the investors in the property. And you know, the reason for this request, I guess, I'll start there, is, you know, West Saginaw is primarily a retail corridor these days, and 30,000 vehicles a day going down the street. It just seems like it sets up more for a retail property than it does for an office property, especially when you have, you know, 150 feet of frontage on West Saginaw. So I've been marketing the property for a couple of years now, and most of the interest we've had have been from restaurants. You know, people that were looking at it either for fast food or either a casual sit down. But we're just not seeing much demand for the office use or the funeral home. And so that's why, you know, we wanted to demolish it and rezone it for commercial and then market the property that way. So I'm happy to answer any questions or anything about that.
Commissioner Fleischman.
Sir, Mr. Costa.
Yeah.
The interest that you've had, has it been strong or weak?
It's tough in our world because there's always so many variables. I'm a real estate broker also. I'm a commercial real estate broker. So we had it under contract with a barbecue concept and they started their due diligence. And then they terminated the agreement because their private money, their private equity was out of New York or something. And they just came through and blanketly said, we're canceling all deals in Michigan and Ohio. So it wasn't even particular to our deal. They just said no more money in the Midwest. So they stopped that deal. They terminated the contract. Other than that, we've had a couple developers looking at it, but we haven't had anyone else go under contract with it. At this time, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Questions for staff. So what kind of zone commercial, what kind of protections do we have for the neighbors? I looked at the property. There's one house, obviously, right behind it. What kind of protections do we have for the neighbors in terms of commercial development?
The main one would be the 40-foot buffer setback.
Where was that here? That's all right. Beautify that section.
For the buffer?
Yep.
Yep, so, the standard buffer is for commercial is, for side and rear is normally 20 feet, but because it's abutting a residential property, it would be bumped up to 40 feet. And that's the main, I guess, protection.
So
would
that's
be
the building setback,
Yeah, the
right?
building setback.
And then there's also a landscape buffer,
Yes.
specific type of landscape buffer. I think that's in your memo as well. Yeah. So in
Yeah.
addition to the greater building setback, there would also be this required for a landscape buffer. So that's 30 feet. And it could be a mix of plant material, landscaping. And if we do get a project, let's say a project with a drive-through comes through, then we would apply the larger setback because it's adjacent to residential, then that we would apply a buffer. And as the planning commission, me as the zoning administrator can kind of dictate what kind of thing we would want to see in that specifically, whether that's a berming or landscaping or a fence or a mix of the two. So we could look at that at the time of a project comes in, and I can apply that to a site plan in any scenario, whether it comes back to you for an SLUP or not.
Now, your property, let's see if I can get this to work. Is the one that's right up, abutting the back of,
My property is 3 houses down,
3 houses to the north.
Yes.
yeah, excuse me. So my house is the larger lot here. If I can bring this map up.
The very top, it's the partial that you can see the very top portion of,
so the
Right there.
third.
Oh,
right there.
Yeah, yeah,
That one.
let's see, no, the next house.
Next house, correct.
Yeah, so.
716, right?
My house is right here.
Oh,
Yeah.
yep, it's one north of that, sorry.
Yeah, so,
Yep.
yeah, it's one more house. So I can show you on this map that you'll see. My house is right here. So here's the property that we're talking about.
Oh, so it's actually the fourth property.
Oh, my property, yeah, there's also, I saw it.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, fourth property, yeah.
Okay,
So the car wash is next to us,
okay.
things like that.
Yep. Can I comment something else?
Sure.
The other thing I was gonna say was, I've been to the property lots, I've shown it to all sorts of people. And right now, on the northern edge of the property, there's very little buffer. I don't know what the distance is, but the asphalt comes almost all the way up to the property zone. And then you have there is a fence on the adjacent parcel to the east where Soapy Joe's is.
Hmm.
There's a little fence there, but that fence sort of I think it stops.
It does.
Okay, but so there's really not much room between the end of the asphalt and that first house. So if we added a 40-foot buffer or whatever was
30.
wide, 30-foot buffer.
Yeah.
It would be much greater than how it is now.
Right.
Okay.
Just something to think about.
And you would not necessarily, because it would be torn down. Is that right?
The property, the existing building would be demolished.
So you wouldn't necessarily maintain the same parking lot structures you currently.
Correct. When we rebuild, we'd follow the new setbacks and and have to get all that approved prior.
And the number of parking spots that would be needed would vary.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, depending on the use.
depending on the use, yep.
One part on the car wash that we kind of deal with right now is since there's no sound barrier between those properties, we kind of hear that car wash, the chain blowers, stuff like that quite a bit, and that's part of my concern with the noise. I just to add that.
Questions or concerns?
And commissioners, Hope and I are gonna look into the car wash. We're not sure what conditions were placed on it at the time, and I wanna verify that the planning team followed up and then made sure that if there were conditions, that those were followed. And there may be something that we can do still now about the noise, so we'll look at that. Just as a side note to this.
That's good.
Anyone else?
Madam Chair, move we close the public hearing.
Support.
It's been moved by Commissioners McConnell and Switzer. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Madam Chair,
Please
ready to make a motion.
do.
I move that the planning commission recommend the Township Board of Trustees approval of the request to rezone 6020 West Saginaw Highway, parcel 040-088-005-03000 from O office to C commercial for the following reasons, which are 4 on the staff report dated page 4 from October 28th, 2024.
Support.
Been moved by Commissioner Switzer and Moudry. Further discussion? Although, Mr. McConnell.
Commissioner Meadow. Support. Commissioner Mudry.
Support.
Commissioner Switzer.
Support.
McConnell supports, Chair Proctor.
Support.
Okay, the motion carries.
Director Menson.
So, Todd, we'll work with you from here, but we're gonna get you scheduled in front of the board. It'll be either on, what I think we'll probably do is introduce it on the 11th and then they meet again on the 18th. So we'll follow up with you to make sure you're good with that time frame. And sure. Cause it's a two-step process of the board where they introduce it, which is you don't need to be there and they won't even talk about it. And then the following meeting, they'll actually discuss it.
Okay.
And then we'll apprise you folks as well, and if you have any neighbors that are interested, you can send them to Hope if you wanna get our contact info. Or we'll reach out to you after this meeting, so you don't need our.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else? All right, the next order of business is other business, which we have none at this time. Public comments? Additional comments from the public? If you wish. All right. Planning Director.
So, no, really nothing big to report today. We're gonna get the Delta Crossings stuff teed up for the November 11th meeting. So the items that were discussed, special land use permit at the meeting October 14th, we'll be getting those on a board agenda for the 11th. The 2 special land use permits and the rezoning. I had the rezoning introduced at the last meeting, so now they'll be all on for discussion at the next board meeting. That's probably the biggest thing going for us. I think I mentioned at that hearing, the phase 3 of that Delta Crossings project has been submitted to me. It's an incomplete application. I'm kicking it back to them for more information, better information. But they are talking about proceeding with that phase. So that's a significant development there. And so unless anyone has any questions about projects, if you've seen anything on West Saginaw, that's the Jiffy Lube that's down further. The Best Buy is under construction at Delta Crossings. You see that from the highway. So probably the things I've been getting the most questions on in the last week or so.
At one point, didn't you tell us that, Anna's was coming?
Anna's house has been slated to be here for about a year. My last discussion with them is they were keeping an eye on kind of I'll say the political climate around restaurant wages. I'll put that way. So I don't know if they have I don't know if they're moving on that site or if it's kind of in the background for now. But they did paint the building to match the Anna's house colors. Just haven't seen
Nothing else.
them move on it, no.
Commissioners, comments?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Swenson.
on the Bass Pro Shop, we talked about the bumper stops,
Yeah,
with pickups backing in. Those have probably have more of an extended back, distance between the wheelbase and the bumper.
mhm.
Is that covered in in those bumper stops?
Well, I guess it would depend on where they're where the bumper stop is installed, so I mean.
Well, it's along the sidewalk they're putting.
No, I understand that. I meant like in the space, we could have them move back a little bit so that they're overhang. The mission was to keep the trucks off it, because that's exactly where I was going with that, the size of vehicles these days and.
Right,
Because they were, even if there are, and I know there's a curb there, but even with a curb, vehicle's big enough, it will be over the curb and blocking the sidewalk.
right.
So I can look into that and make sure that kind of get some minutia on the measurements from them, but they agreed to do it and we included it as a condition, so.
Right,
I'm not sure exactly how, I'll figure it out. I don't have an answer on exactly the kind of the inches of it yet, but,
all right, that's all I had.
okay, thank you.
Any Commissioner comments?
Thanks, guys.
Is there none? Motion to adjourn again.
So moved. Support.
Been moved and supported by Commissioner Spicer removal. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Sorry to make you guys come out just for me tonight.
That's what we're for.
Flowers while you can get them. While you can.